Okay. Okay. So you'll remember, hopefully, last session, last month, when we talked about emptiness, one of the big topics we discussed was the two extremes and how the view we're taking is called the middle way. Okay, so the two extremes being eternalism, or I like to call it absolutism, thinking that there's some absolute, truly existent reality objectively out there, and the other being the nihilistic view, saying nothing exists. And we talked about last time how these two were different sides of the same false coin, okay? And that both the absolutists or eternalists and the nihilists have the same thought, but they come to different conclusions. So their main thought is, that they share is if things are, things appear truly existent and they must truly exist, in other words, they must have their own essence that makes them what they are. And if they don't exist that way, which is how they appear to exist to us, then they don't exist at all. Okay? So the absolutists say, well, things truly exist. They don't, because if they didn't exist, nothing would exist. And that's just unrealistic. We know things exist, and our senses are true, so, things truly exist. The nihilists say, well, you can refute true existence. If you search for that essence that things supposedly have, you can't find it, so nothing exists. Yeah. Or some nihilists don't go so far to say nothing exists. They say the law of karma and its effects doesn't exist. Yeah, because there's... But that view is quite dangerous, because if you say there's no law of karma and effect, then it's like, well, yahoo, I'm going to do what I want. It doesn't have any repercussions on me. As long as I don't get caught by the police, everything's okay. So that's really, really detrimental. Okay, so that's from last time. This time, we're going to talk about the correct view. So if you have the book, Realizing the Profound View, I'm going to be starting on page 240. It's 2 pages into chapter 9, because the first bit of chapter 9 is a story, which we don't need to go through. Okay, so I'm going to read a little bit, talk, and so on. Okay, so His Holiness says, some early Tibetan scholars thought that because emptiness could not withstand ultimate analysis, it was non-existent and not a knowable object. However, not being able to bear ultimate analysis does not mean that something is totally non-existent. Don't worry, I'm going to go back and explain all these terms. It means that it does not inherently exist. It cannot be found when subjected to reasoning, analyzing the ultimate. It may still exist conventionally. Although emptiness is an ultimate truth, it exists conventionally because conventional existence is the only kind of existence there is. Because reasoning has refuted ultimate existence or findability when analyzed with ultimate analysis. So there's a lot of terms in there. And what you'll hear in this first bit of this chapter, You hear the word ultimate a lot and the word conventional a lot, okay? But when it's attached to existent, other words like ultimate or conventional existence, ultimate or conventional analysis, ultimate or conventional truth, yeah, those terms you have to understand, more explicitly, okay? So this verse is kind of the synopsis of the whole chapter in a way, yeah. So let's go through it little by little. So some early Tibetan scholars thought that because emptiness could not withstand ultimate analysis, it was not non-existent and not a knowable object. Okay, so emptiness, yeah, which is a non-affirming negative. It's the absence of true or inherent existence. It cannot withstand ultimate analysis, okay? Ultimate analysis is analysis that is looking for what is this object really? How does this object really exist? Okay, this is different than conventional analysis. Conventional analysis, you're not thinking about how does something really exist? What is it? Does it have some defining characteristic that makes it what it is? Okay? Ultimate analysis is analyzing that. Conventional analysis is saying, what color pink is this? Would you call this pink? Or would you call it, what color would you call it? Rose color? Yeah. Is it red maybe, going on red? Yeah. How much water does this thermos hold? Okay, that's also conventional analysis. So we want to know just, how does this thing function? Yeah. How long does it hold water hot? Or how long does it hold it cold? All that is conventional analysis. Ultimate analysis is when you're analyzing to say, okay, what really is this? Yeah, we call it a thermos. What really is a thermos? What about this conglomeration of atoms and molecules that are made of different, that make different materials? Yeah. What about this is the thermos? What part of this is the thermos? Okay? Is this the thermos? No. Okay. If I say, please, will you fill up the thermos? If you fill the little bit up here, yeah. If I say, how long? If I say, is this the thermos? Yeah? Is this the thermos? Will this, without a top, serve the function of keeping things hot or cold? No. This is not a thermos. If you went to a store and went and got something that's a thermos and you came up with this, you would take it back to the store. Yeah, this cannot function as a thermos. If we look inside, is the inside a thermos? Is the outside a thermos? Is the bottom a thermos? Okay, when we analyze the parts, none of them are a thermos. Okay, are the causes of the thermos the thermos? Yeah. Well, what's a thermos made out of? There's some kind of metal. Is it aluminum? And what's the inside?
Stainless steel.
Stainless steel? Okay. So how do you make stainless steel? It's made from iron ore and, and baking soda. you know, I don't know, whatever makes stainless steel, whatever makes, the aluminum, there's some paint on it, yeah. All of these things were the cause of the thermos. Are any of those things the thermos? Yeah. Is the steel, while it's still in a big vat, the thermos? No. Okay. So when we check the parts of this, none of them are a thermos. When we check the causes and conditions that produce it, none of them are a thermos. Okay. So that's doing ultimate analysis. When you do ultimate analysis, then the only, because you're looking for the thing that is that, you can't point to anything. You keep looking, is this it, is this it, is this it? Yeah. And none of it's it. Okay. So the ultimate analysis finds that it's, that there's no truly existent or inherently existent or objectively existent thermos. Okay? Yeah. So that's what ultimate analysis proves. So you see the difference between ultimate analysis and conventional analysis? Yeah. So when we analyze with ultimate analysis and we cannot find the thermos, yeah, we say that the thermos does not ultimately exist. On the ultimate level of how the deeper level of what a thing really is, it doesn't exist because we can't find anything to point to that is it. Yeah, so on the it is not ultimately existent. Does that mean it's not conventionally existent either? No, because the thermos does conventionally exist. Okay, how does it exist? It's dependent on causes and conditions. It's dependent on parts. And it's dependent on us having the idea of an object that is kind of this shape that can keep liquids hot or cold for a period of time. Okay, so the thermos conventionally exists. If I say, where is the thermos? You're going to say, it's on the table. No problem with that. If I say, where in this is the thermos? What is the thermos in this? What would you say?
It's unfindable.
You can't find it. Okay. So there's a thermos on the table, but there's no thermos in this object, even though we call this object a thermos. Okay, so the thermos conventionally exists, but it does not ultimately exist. When we analyze it using conventional analysis, we're looking at its characteristics and how it functions, what we can use it for. When we analyze it with ultimate analysis, we're trying to find out what is its real nature. Yeah, what is it really? And we can't find anything to point to. Okay, so just because something does not it cannot bear ultimate analysis, yeah, does not mean that it doesn't exist at all, because it conventionally exists. Okay. Now you might say, but the emptiness of true existence of the thermos, that must exist ultimately. What do you think about that? Some say yes, some say no. Okay. If the emptiness of the thermos were truly existent, then there would be something, then you could find that emptiness when you analyzed. Now somebody might say, well, when you analyze to find the thermos, you find the emptiness, so that must be truly existent because it's found by ultimate analysis. But you weren't looking for that emptiness when you did ultimate analysis. Yeah, what you were looking for was the ultimate nature, to see if this had an ultimate, truly existent nature. That you couldn't find. Okay? If you examine emptiness, is emptiness truly existent? No. Yeah. Why not? Because, somebody might say, but emptiness, it doesn't have parts. It isn't produced by causes and conditions. Why can't it, be truly existent? It's not dependent on anything. Actually, emptiness is dependent. Okay? You cannot talk about emptiness without it being the emptiness of something, unless you just use the term emptiness where what's applied is all phenomena or, whatever it is you're talking about. Okay? So we cannot talk of the emptiness of the thermos, independent of the thermos. If there's no thermos, there's no emptiness of the thermos either. Okay? So emptiness depends on its basis of designation, yeah, which is all these things put together in this shape. Yeah, the thermos also depends on its basis of designation. Okay, but when we say the emptiness of the thermos, that emptiness depends on there being a conventionally existent thermos. Okay, now there's a big debate. Is the boogeyman, is the boogeyman empty of true existence? Okay, so they get into a big debate about the boogeyman. Okay, does the boogeyman, the boogeyman, I think he goes to Australia sometimes too, Yeah, it's the one that your parents tell you is hidden under your bed, and if you're naughty, he's going to come out and wake you up in the middle of the night. And he's not the tooth fairy. Tooth fairy can come. Boogeyman, no. Okay. Does the boogeyman truly exist? No. Why not? It doesn't exist at all. Yeah, you can't analyze what it is. Yeah. Now, some people have a hard time. Well, what about the emptiness? The emptiness, the boogeyman doesn't exist, and the emptiness of the boogeyman doesn't exist. But the emptiness of the thermos exists. And the emptiness of the thermos is also empty of true existence. Yeah? Okay, because if you say, what really is the emptiness of the thermos? Is it the emptiness of this part, the emptiness of this part? Again, you find the the emptiness of the different parts, but when you put them together, that emptiness also is not truly existent. Yeah? Does emptiness conventionally exist? Yes. Okay. So the only kind of existence that is conventional existence. Nothing ultimately exists, because nothing is findable under ultimate analysis. Okay, is this making some sense? Yeah, but you see, we have to really look at these words, conventional and ultimate, and they're used differently in different contexts. Okay, so these early Tibetan scholars thought that because emptiness could not withstand ultimate analysis, you can't find emptiness when you analyze it, then it must be non-existent, and non-existent things are not knowable objects because they don't exist. Knowable objects means that it has to be perceived conventionally, by a reliable cognizer. Okay? However, not being able to bear ultimate analysis does not mean that something is totally non-existent. It just means it's not inherently existent. So inherently existent, inherent existence, and conventional existence are two different things. Yeah. So it means, however, not being able to bear an ultimate analysis does not mean that something is totally non-existent. It means that it does not inherently exist. It cannot be found when subjected to reasoning analyzing the ultimate, or ultimate analysis. It may still conventionally exist if it functions. We can establish it as conventionally existent. Yeah, and there's ultimate other criteria too. Although emptiness is an ultimate truth, okay, it isn't ultimately existent. Yeah, it's an ultimate truth because it's the ultimate nature of all phenomena. Okay? Okay, so although emptiness is an ultimate truth, it exists conventionally. Yeah? Because conventional existence is the only kind of existence there is. We already negated ultimate existence. Okay? So reasoning has refuted ultimate existence or ultimate findability when analyzed with ultimate analysis. So that's that first paragraph. Yeah? Are you getting something? Yeah? Now, part of the problem is we can say the words, oh yes, conventional existence and ultimate existence are different. Yeah? And something conventionally exists, but it doesn't ultimately exist. Sounds great, we can spout out off the words. Yeah? But when we look at things, we think that they have some nature in them that makes them what they are. Yeah? When you think of somebody that you love, somebody that you're very fond of, you feel like there's a real person there. don't you? Some real person that has some essence. There's something there that is the person. Yeah. Because if there weren't, then, how I mean, if there weren't real people, then everything's just a hallucination. Yeah. And when you think of yourself and you say I, you feel like there's something in there that really is me. Don't you? Yeah? Yeah. If I say, you nitwit, is there a feeling like there's an I inside? That's screaming, I am not a nitwit. Yeah. What's the definition of a nitwit? Who knows? But we get offended anyway when somebody calls us one. But if somebody said, what's the definition? Oh, no. Yeah, I've never looked it up.
A silly or foolish person.
A silly, did you just look it up? A silly or foolish person. So you have to be either silly or foolish. You can't be both.
It says or.
Yeah, so you can't be both. It's one or the other. So when I crack a joke, I'm being silly. Am I being foolish too? Huh.
Not if you're a nitwit.
No, if I am a nitwit, then I'm being foolish too. Yeah? Okay. But in any case, when somebody calls us a name, we feel like there's me inside and you are challenging me. Yeah. Or somebody comes too close to us. You get one person who's like standing this far away from you and you go, I want some space. Yeah. Who's the I that wants space? It feels like it's somewhere in this. Okay. Who's the I that says, give me space, get out of my face? Yeah. Who's that I? Where is it? It feels like it's in your body. Where? Yeah. Briefly scan your body right now. Who's screaming, I want space? You're in my space. Who's that owner of the space? Who's the one that's screaming out? Yeah, it feels like it's somewhere in here, doesn't it? Yeah, you're sure. But what? Yeah, it's somewhere in here. Okay, so you take, not the real surgeon's knife, but in your imagination, you cut it open, you open it up. Okay. Yeah, so is your sternum who you are? Your ribs? Yeah, your heart. Bum, 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 bum. Is your heart saying, I want space? Does your heart speak English? Yeah. Okay. Maybe, you're in the back of the body. Yeah. Are you one of the vertebrae in the back of your body back here? Or maybe you're the lungs is who you are? Who's the one who's saying, get out of my space? Or I need space? Yeah. It sure feels like there's somebody there, doesn't it? Yeah. When you look, can you find? Okay. But then as soon as we stop the analysis, we go back to, give me my space. Yeah. I need some space. Whew. Yeah. So interesting when you ask. Yeah. Who's the nitwit? You just called me a nitwit. Who's the nitwit? Yeah. And the other person says, you're a nitwit because what you say is nitty and it's not witty. Yeah. Or you're a nitwit because you're a silly, foolish person, according to the definition. Okay. Who exactly is the nitwit? Yeah. Who is the silly one? Is my hand silly? Is my brain silly? Are my eyes silly? My esophagus silly? My intestines silly? Yeah. Who's the silly, foolish one that says, I am not a nitwit? It's quite interesting, isn't it? Yeah? Because we really feel like there's an I in there that is being attacked. We're sure there's an I in there being attacked. Yeah. And when somebody says, no, you're not a nitwit, you are the most wonderful, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious person there is. You're wonderful. Yeah, and then you go, yes, I am wonderful. I am. And look, yeah, here's all the letters people write me that saying I'm wonderful. Here's how many votes I got to be class president in 6th grade. Here's this, here's that. All these things show that I am wonderful. Who's wonderful? Your brain? Yeah. So you imagine cutting open here, taking out this gray thing, putting it on the table. Oh, that's me. That's wonderful. Somebody's going to go, ew, I'm not going to marry you. You're all gray and contorted with blood all over. Okay. So let's come back to the text here, trying to give you some idea of emptiness here. Other early Tibetan scholars thought that emptiness was ineffable and therefore unable to be grasped by mind and was thus not a knowable object. So some said emptiness just doesn't exist because it's not findable. Others say emptiness exists, it's ineffable. Yeah, you can't pin it down. Therefore, you can't grasp it by mind, and therefore, it's not a knowable object. That's also wrong. Okay? If that were the case, nirvana could not be attained. Okay? Because nirvana is also ineffable. And if you say, well, emptiness doesn't exist because it's ineffable, it's not a knowable object, yeah, then nirvana also is ineffable. It's not a knowable object, so it can't be attained. So why are you doing your Buddhist practice? Yeah, go skiing instead. So nirvana is the final true cessation. Oh, it's true. It's the true cessation. Maybe nirvana. Yeah, nirvana inherently exists. I mean, we want to attain nirvana. Yeah. So we should be able to find out what it is when we analyze. Okay. His Holiness says nirvana is the final true cessation. Yeah. What's a true cessation? It's the absence of, it's the, when afflictions have been eliminated from the mind, yeah, it's the emptiness of the mind that has had some portion of the afflictions forever eliminated. Okay, so there's actually many true cessations. Yeah, as you go through the path at different levels, you uproot different levels of afflictions. Yeah, so each one of them is a true cessation. Yeah, when we talk about kind of the final true cessation, that is also called nirvana. But it's the emptiness of a mind that has had the afflictions forever removed. Okay, so if emptiness did not exist at all, then neither would true cessations and nirvana. Nirvana is the final true cessation. In addition, if emptiness was not an existent phenomena, then generating the wisdom realizing it would be impossible. If emptiness did not exist, how could you have the wisdom that realizes it? Okay, it would be like having the wisdom that realizes the boogeyman or the weapons of mass destruction in Iraq or any number of things that do not exist. Okay. In that case, if it would be impossible to generate the wisdom realizing emptiness, so it would be impossible to attain nirvana, then eradicating ignorance by means of such wisdom could not occur. So you can never eradicate all your ignorance. And thus, if you couldn't eradicate your ignorance, yeah, because true cessation is an emptiness and it's ineffable and you can't find it and there's no nirvana, then the conclusion is there's no reason to practice the path in order to attain nirvana. Yeah? So go skiing, go miniature golfing. Yeah, live it up. Yeah, that's not going to work either. Okay, the mode of apprehension of ignorance and of wisdom are completely opposite. Ignorance views a person, here we're using the person as an example, ignorance views a person as inherently existent, and wisdom, realizing the ultimate, sees a person as empty of true existence. So the way they look at the person, yeah, how they're apprehending the person is totally different. Okay? Ignorance sees the person and then starts projecting all these qualities on it. Okay? Emptiness, wisdom sees the person as empty of true existence. Okay? Does wisdom see the person as non-existent? No. Because if wisdom saw the person as non-existent, again, then there, some people say, oh, well, you can't find you can't find the person under ultimate analysis, so the person doesn't exist. Yeah, then who's talking to who? What's going on here? Okay, so wisdom sees the person as empty of inherent existence. Ignorance sees the person as inherently existent. Okay, thus wisdom and ignorance are contradictory. Yeah, there's nothing that is both of them. Yeah. Wisdom sees things as they are. Ignorance fabricates a mode of existence that does not exist. Because truth stands on a valid basis, wisdom can overcome and uproot ignorance. Yeah, because what ignorance apprehends does not exist. So the wisdom, when wisdom sees that there's no inherently existent person, it can overcome that ignorance. Yeah. As the ignorance is overcome more and more, then the other afflictions are overcome more and more. Yeah. And eventually you get to true cessations. Okay. And the ultimate true cessation, nirvana. Right. If we say that the object of this wisdom, emptiness, or non-inherent existence, does not exist, what else could wisdom perceive? Yeah? If we say emptiness doesn't exist, what does the wisdom realizing the ultimate nature, what could it possibly perceive? Yeah, nothing. Okay. Other early Tibetan scholars thought that because emptiness was found by the reasoning analyzing the ultimate, it must inherently exist. Okay? When examining a sprout, for example, with ultimate analysis, the sprout is not found, but its emptiness is found. Okay, so the wisdom analyzing the emptiness of the sprout does not find the wisdom analyzing the ultimate nature of the sprout to see if it inherently exists, that wisdom finds emptiness, the lack of inherent existence. Yeah? But that does not mean that because it was found, that emptiness inherently exists. Because if you look for the inherent existence of that emptiness, again, you can't find it. You're going to find the emptiness of the emptiness. Okay? So when examining a sprout with ultimate analysis, the sprout is not found, but its emptiness is. However, the sprout's emptiness is not the object being searched for by the reasoning analyzing the ultimate nature of the sprout. We are examining if the sprout has an inherent essence. We are not examining emptiness to determine if it has an inherent essence. It's just that that's what's found when you're analyzing for the sprout's inherent essence. Okay, however, when emptiness is subjected to ultimate analysis, it too cannot bear analysis. It too is not found under ultimate analysis. Okay, but just because something cannot bear analysis and is not found under ultimate analysis does not mean that it's non-existent. It means that an inherently existent sprout is non-existent. but the sprout, the conventional sprout, exists. Okay, what is found at that time is the emptiness of emptiness, when you're examining to see if emptiness inherently exists. Thus, emptiness is also empty of inherent existence. Some people think that a permanent phenomena, such as nirvana, is truly existent because it's true. Okay? Nirvana is true. Yeah? So they say, well, it's true, so it must truly exist. No, the word, yeah, so it's another one of these word things. When emptiness is a truth because it exists the way it appears to the direct, reliable cognizer cognizing it. Okay? So when a direct, reliable cognizer can, perceive an object, it must, for the object to be true, it must exist the way it appears. Now we look at this and say, well, yes, the gong exists the way it appears. It appears to be a gong, and it is a gong. That's talking conventionally. And we say it appears to be a gong because we already know that the word gong applies to this. Okay? But that doesn't make this a truly existent gong. Yeah. If somebody came in the room and said, or somebody's outside of the room and said, is the gong, is it true that the gong is on the table? You would, and you were just in here, you would say, yes, the gong is on the table. It's true. Yeah, it's true that there's a gong here. Okay. Is the gong truly existent? No. Because true existence means inherent existence, means that there's something somewhere in here that makes it a gong. Okay. Yeah. So some people think that a permanent phenomena such as nirvana is truly existence because it is true. Okay, so it's true that nirvana exists, but nirvana is not truly existent. Okay, you get it? It sounds weird. It's true that nirvana exists, but nirvana is not truly existent. Because when you search for some essence in nirvana that makes it what it is, from its own side, there's nothing that can be identified. Okay, so the people who assert that, who think that nirvana is truly existent because it's true, they have misunderstood what Nagarjuna queried. So here's a verse from Nagarjuna. When the conqueror stated that only nirvana is a truth, what wise person would think that the rest are not false? So nirvana is a truth because it exists in the way it appears to a direct perceiver, direct, reliable perceiver, knowing it. Okay? So nirvana is a truth. It's called an ultimate truth. Does it ultimately exist? No. Okay? So nirvana is understood in relation to emptiness. It is a type of emptiness. In meditative equipoise, directly perceiving emptiness, emptiness appears just as it is to the meditating mind. Yeah. So that meditating mind, that is directly perceiving emptiness. Emptiness is empty. It appears to that mind as empty of inherent existence. Okay. When we look at the thermos, yeah, if we look, at the thermos, it looks truly existent, and our ignorance grasps it as truly existent. But that ignorance is not a reliable cognizer. So then you go, wait a minute. You mean I don't have any reliable cognizers? If I don't have any reliable cognizers, then how can I even say this is a thermos? How can I perceive a thermos? Yeah. So, the appearance of the thermos as truly existent is a false appearance. So we say the thermos itself is a falsity because it does not exist the way it appears. Okay. The thermos does not exist. The thermos appears truly existent. It does not exist that way. When we analyze, we prove that to ourselves. So the thermos falsely exists. It does not truly exist. It falsely exists. But does that mean that we cannot, on the conventional level, have a correct, reliable cognition of the thermos? No, it doesn't mean that, because when you know what the relative characteristics are of a thermos and you see something that's like that, you call it a thermos, and it functions like a thermos. If this were a tube of cardboard and we called it a thermos, somebody else's correct, conventional, reliable cognizer would say, no, this tube of cardboard cannot function as a thermos. If you fill it with hot water, it's not going to keep the water hot, and the water will spill all over your fingers, and the cardboard's going to deteriorate. Okay? So the thermos exists, but the way it appears to our conventional valid cognizers is false, because it appears truly existent, but it's not. Okay? So nirvana is understood in relation to emptiness. It is a type of emptiness. In meditative equipoise, directly perceiving emptiness, emptiness appears just as it is to the meditating mind. Emptiness is empty, and it appears to that mind as empty of inherent existence. Thus, nirvana is true in the sense that it is non-deceptive. It's true, in the sense it's non-deceptive. When you perceive it, you know it exactly. It exists, nirvana exists the way it appears to the direct perceiver perceiving it. However, nirvana and emptiness are not true in the sense of being able to bear ultimate analysis. Okay? Since the ability to bear ultimate analysis is the criteria determining if a phenomena truly exists or not, nirvana, like all other phenomena, does not truly exist. If it did, it would be able to withstand ultimate analysis. That is, it would be found when searched for by ultimate analysis. Okay. If nirvana were truly existent, the probing awareness analyzing its ultimate mode of being should find something objective that is nirvana. Oh, there's nirvana over there. That's it. I can grab onto it. Yeah. But nirvana cannot be found that way. Yeah. Thus, although nirvana is unconditioned and it's not produced by causes, okay, and similarly, emptiness is unconditioned, it's not produced by causes, it exists dependent on its parts as well as on its basis of designation. The emptiness of the thermos depends on the thermos. Mm-hmm. Okay, the mind that is, yeah, depends on, nirvana exists dependent, yeah, on the thermos, and this is needs to be corrected here, or it depends on the empty, yeah, no, you don't have nirvana of the thermos. The emptiness of the thermos depends on the thermos, okay? Yeah. Okay, so nirvana depends on the emptiness of the mind, yeah, that has totally removed all afflictions. Nirvana doesn't just rely on the emptiness of the mind, even though the afflicted mind is empty of true existence, and the realized mind is also empty. Okay, but one's the emptiness of a contaminated, a polluted mind, and the other one is the emptiness of a liberated mind. So those emptinesses are different. Okay, where were we? Okay, when we search for something that is nirvana to see if it's truly existent, yeah, we should find something objective that is nirvana, but we can't. Thus, although nirvana is unconditioned and isn't produced by causes, it exists dependent on its parts as well as on its basis of designation. Yeah, and it exists dependent on the emptiness of its basis of designation, which is, and the basis of designation is the mind. The basis of designation of the emptiness of the mind is the mind that is, that the basis that the emptiness of the mind depends on is the mind that is the emptiness of, nirvana, okay, is dependent on the emptiness of the mind that is totally purified of all afflictions. That's the correct way to say it, okay? It also depends on samsara, in that samsara and nirvana are posited in mutual dependence on each other, okay? Being dependent, neither samsara nor nirvana inherently exists. Nagarjuna says these two, samsara and nirvana, do not inherently exist. The thorough understanding of samsara is called nirvana. When you thoroughly understand samsara, what are you understanding? It's emptiness of inherent existence. So this is important to remember, because often we say, oh, I'm in samsara. Oh, I'm in samsara. And we think of samsara as inherently existent and permanent, unchanging. Yeah. If I'm in samsara, then I have the nature of being, my ultimate nature is polluted. Yeah. Oh, so I have an ultimate nature that is polluted, so I can't get out of samsara. I'm forever in samsara. Woe is me. Yeah. And they say, well, that's why my meditation isn't going anywhere. That's why I practice the antidotes and they work one day and they don't work the next day. It's because I am samsara inherently exists. It's permanent. I'm in samsara permanently. So what's the use? Let's go to the pub. Let's take out a joint. Yeah. No, samsara is not truly existent. Yeah. And our being in samsara is not truly existent. It's a dependent arising. What does our being in samsara depend on? Our afflictions and our karma. Yeah. And our karma and our afflictions are the causes of our samsara. So sometimes we feel like the essence of something must be in its cause. Yeah, I was having a discussion some time ago with Venerable Sangye Kadra. We were talking about causes and conditions. And she said something to the effect of, yeah, it feels like there must be something in the pumpkin seed that makes it grow into a pumpkin. Yeah. If there weren't something in the pumpkin seed that made it grow into a pumpkin, then it could grow into a door. Can the pumpkin seed grow into a door? No. Oh, so it must have the essence of pumpkin in it. Yeah. In other words, the way we look at it is there's something in that pumpkin seed, yeah, that makes it a pumpkin and not a door, not a rhinoceros, okay, a rhinoceros with the orangutans. Yeah. Yeah, I'm being a nitwit Singaporean. No, I am the nitwit Singaporean. You say orangutan. Yeah, you're a true Singaporean. Okay. Where were we? Yeah. If it feels like there's something in that pumpkin seed that is a pumpkin, because it's going to grow into a big pumpkin that will be there when Halloween comes. Okay? And and if you studied science, you say, yes, it's the DNA and the RNA in that pumpkin seed. That is the pumpkin, the essence of the pumpkin. Okay. It's the cause of the pumpkin. Is it the essence of the pumpkin? if it were the essence of the pumpkin, then the pumpkin must also be there. You can't have a pumpkin. You can't talk of the essence of the pumpkin without a pumpkin. You can't talk about the height of the table without a table. So if you're saying the DNA and RNA are the essence of the pumpkin, then there must be a pumpkin in that pumpkin seed. If there were a pumpkin in that pumpkin seed, we should be able to open the pumpkin seed and have a big pumpkin and make pumpkin pie. Is there a pumpkin inside the pumpkin seed? No. Okay. Then what makes the pumpkin seed grow into a pumpkin? There must be some essence. Okay, what essence is there in that pumpkin seed that's also in the pumpkin? The same DNA. Oh, really? So the DNA that's in that pumpkin seed hasn't changed one iota. It's a permanent phenomena. And yet it was able to produce a pumpkin. Can permanent things produce results? No. Is the DNA in the pumpkin seed the exact same chemicals, atoms, everything in the pumpkin? No. So the DNA also isn't the essence of the pumpkin. But it feels like there should be something that makes it a pumpkin and not a rhinoceros or orangutan. Yeah. Yeah. It's not a rhinoceros, it's not a orangutan, and it's not a hippopotamus. Okay. Yeah. But there's DNA in the pumpkin seed, and there is DNA in the pumpkin. Conventionally, we say it's the same DNA. Is it? When you do ultimate analysis, is it exactly the same DNA? So those atoms and molecules have not changed. They don't age, they don't change. If things don't change, how do they produce a pumpkin? Okay. Okay. So these things are real when you take a walk. Yeah, think about these things. There's a tree. Oh, that's the tree that da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You have a whole story about that tree. Yeah. What is that tree? Yeah, when you look at where we live, we have huge trees. Yeah, they grew from seeds that are like this big. Yeah, you look at your present body, it also grew from something that was this big. Yeah. When you were in your mother's womb and you were this big, is that you? Is there a real person there? Yeah. Okay. Neither samsara nor nirvana inherently exist. Samsara, being empty of inherent existence, doesn't mean that nothing exists. The appropriated aggregates, the aggregates we took of our body and mind, are samsara. When they are realized as empty, and this is meditated on over time, all afflictive obscurations are ceased, they're eradicated. And that true cessation is emptiness. The emptiness of the mind in which afflictive obscurations have been ceased is called nirvana. Here's another quote by Nagarjuna. He who does not grasp I and mine also does not inherently exist. Whoever sees the one who does not grasp I and mine does not see reality. Okay, so he who does not grasp I and mine, that person who's meditating on emptiness, they see that I and mine are empty of true existence. They don't grasp at either I and mine or emptiness is truly existent. That person that's meditating also is empty of true existence. That's what those first two lines mean. But whoever sees the one who does not grasp I and mine does not see reality. So whoever, some nitwit, who sees the person who does not grasp I and mind and sees that person as truly existent, that person does not see reality. Okay, hold on, it explains it. The first line speaks of a person, let's call him Tashi, who has realized emptiness and does not grasp the inherent existence of I and mine. Okay? So Tashi's a liberated being. Let's say he's completely, abandoned all the afflictive obscurations. Yeah. The second line states that if analyzed, Tashi is also found to lack inherent existence. Okay. Lines 3 and 4 describe another person, let's call them Daichen. Daichen looks at Tashi. Tashi's meditating on emptiness, does not see true existence of I and mine. But Daichen is just, she's walking around the room, oh, there's Tashi, and mistakenly grasps him as existing inherently. Yeah, she's not in a meditative equipoise on emptiness. In doing so, Daichen does not see reality because she thinks there's a truly existent Tashi there. Yeah. By realizing emptiness and abandoning grasping I and mine, Tashi has a correct realization. Daichen looks at Tashi and respects the emptiness he has realized so much that she grasps that emptiness as existing from its own side, as truly existent. She also admires Tashi so much for realizing emptiness that she grasps Tashi as existing from his own side. There's Tashi. He's realized emptiness. I'm so jealous. A contradiction now exists in Daichen's mind. she appreciates emptiness and she appreciates Tashi, who has realized it, but she grasps both emptiness and Tashi as existing inherently, which is the opposite of emptiness. This occurred because she did not understand the lack of inherent existence of the emptiness that Tashi has realized. Okay. When she comes to understand the emptiness of emptiness, she will also see emptiness as, she will not see emptiness as inherently existent. At that time, she will be able to appreciate that Tashi has realized emptiness without grasping him either as inherently existent, because she has seen that emptiness doesn't inherently exist. Yeah. When Deichen understands the emptiness of Tashi, that will facilitate her understanding that the emptiness he realized is also empty. Yeah. Although there is no set sequence as to which emptiness Deichen must realize first, the emptiness of emptiness or the emptiness of Tashi, the fact that at present she grasps emptiness as inherently existent indicates that she will also grasp Tashi as inherently existent. Okay. So reifying emptiness and regarding it as an absolute phenomena unrelated to everything else prevents us from seeing reality as it actually is. Emptiness is discovered by means of critical reasoning. Okay, that's how we can figure out what emptiness is by critical reasoning. It's not by sitting there, closing our eyes and saying, nothing, nothingness, nothingness, nothingness. Yeah, nothingness is not the same as inherently the emptiness of inherent existence. Nothingness is the lack of any phenomena. Emptiness is the lack of truly existent phenomena. They're different. Okay? But some people think that since emptiness is the final truth found by critical analysis, it must truly exist and be absolute. But that is not correct. Okay. So here we see the danger in reifying what is found to be the truth, emptiness, and clinging to it as existing with its own independent nature. Okay. Grasping emptiness as truly existent indicates that one is completely befuddled. That's how you become a nitwit. Yeah. Add that to the definition. As Nagarjuna cautions, since you, the Buddha, teaches the ambrosia of emptiness to help abandon all conceptualizations of inherent existence, a person who clings to this emptiness, this you have strongly condemned. Okay? So if you cling to the emptiness as truly existent, the Buddha disagrees with you. So the Perfection of Wisdom Sutras explain 16 divisions of emptiness. Among these are the emptiness of emptiness, the emptiness of nirvana, and the emptiness of ultimate truth. In these, emptiness is the basis that is empty of true existence. Just as in other divisions of emptiness, a flower is the basis that is empty of true existence. Yeah. So you might have there's the emptiness of impermanent phenomena. So the emptiness of a flower would fall within that. Okay. Okay, and the sutras speak of the emptiness of emptiness, nirvana, and ultimate truth, specifically to prevent us from reifying emptiness and clinging to it as an independent, absolute truth, unrelated to all other phenomena. Okay, and with that, if you're thoroughly confused, we have come, the screen just went black. There's nothing. Are the people still there? Are we still streaming? Yeah. Oh, we are? Okay. Okay, so again, we've reached the end of our time. So there's no time for Q&A right now. Let's dedicate. And think about it. Yeah. So this is not easy to understand. You probably have to listen to the tape a few times, read the passage a few times. Yeah.
May the spiritual